Review for 6.2, 6.3 quiz. So we start off here with adding things that have a common denominator. Remember, it's really important when we add fractions that we have a common denominator. Think about whenever you do something like 1/4 plus 1/4. Well, those have a common denominator, which makes it 2/4, which we can simplify to be 1/2. And if you don't believe that, or you feel like you don't understand that, a fourth of $1 is a quarter. So we're saying a quarter plus a quarter is half of $1. Okay, so that's how that works. We would, on these, we're adding and simplifying if possible. So our denominators are already the same, which means our denominator for this next step is x plus 7. And then on top, we need to simply add these together. What is x plus 9? Well, it is x plus 9. We can't simplify that. We can't cancel out the x's. We can't cancel out the numbers. We can't cancel anything out, because in order for us to cancel something out, we have to be able to factor so that things are being multiplied together. We can't cancel through a plus sign. On the next one, we're subtracting, so that means that we just have to do 13 minus 6 instead of 13 plus 6. So that's 7 over our common denominator, which is 18x. Now this next section, we need to pay attention to the instructions. Find the least common denominator. It doesn't say anything about adding or subtracting. All we need to do is figure out what the common denominator should be. And the way that works is we have to have what's in each denominator. One of our denominators is x. One of them is x minus 6. Put them together and what do you get? X times x minus 6. The rule is that you have to be able to multiply to get whatever the denominator is. So we can't just on this first one say, oh, I'd subtract 6 and that gives me x minus 6, which is the other denominator. No, we can't, because we have to multiply by something. You can't multiply x by anything to get x minus 6. So that's why we need both of the denominators in our least common denominator. On the next one, it takes more work. It's not necessarily trickier. You have to factor, so we're trying to say what multiplies to get 6 that adds to get 7. So that'd be 6 and 1. To factor on the second denominator, when you look at that, there's only 2 terms, so we can't do what we did on the first one, but they both have an x, so that means we can factor out an x, and that leaves us with x plus, we took out that x, so we're left with 1. So now we look and we say, okay, our denominator needs everything we have here. So let's make a list of what we have. We have an x plus 6. We have an x plus 1. We have an x, which normally we write in front. We have another x plus 1. We don't need to write the x plus 1 again because we already have 1. So this is our answer. Next, we need to add using common denominators, or least common denominator. So here, we have 8 over x plus 9 over x minus 3. We cannot simply try to add the two of these things together the way they are. We must get common denominators. Our common denominator is going to be x times x minus 3. Just like 2 problems ago, we want to figure out something where we can multiply to get the same denominator. So on the first denominator, I would need an x minus 3. But that means I have to multiply the top and bottom by x minus 3. On the second fraction, I need to multiply by x, so I multiply the top and the bottom by x. So here on top, we would have 8 times x minus 3, which means we need to distribute. Get 8x minus 24. We have a plus sign, and then 9 times x is 9x. And to save like some writing, I just wrote it all over the common denominator. Because the whole point is that we're multiplying by these things so that our fraction will have common denominators. So let's see what like terms we've got up top. 8x plus 9x is 17x minus 24 over x times x minus 3. We can't factor the top. That's a terrible looking box. Sorry. Can't factor the top, so that is our answer. On this one, x squared minus 16 has two terms. They have nothing in common, but if I square root them, since there's a minus sign, I can figure out, hopefully, that this is x plus 4, x minus 4. X squared plus 5x plus 4 factors out what multiplies to get 4 that adds to get 5. So x plus 4, x plus 1. And then we, on our common denominator, let's make a list. We need x plus 4, x minus 4 from the first denominator, but we also need x plus 1 for the second denominator. So this first fraction needs an x plus 1. So we multiply the top and the bottom by x plus 1. On the second one, keep in mind this minus sign means that this is like a plus negative situation. And so it needs an x minus 4 on the denominator. So when we distribute, we need to distribute this negative instead of a positive 3. So here, x times x plus 1 let me try that again. X times x plus 1, we distribute and get x squared plus x plus, we distribute the negative 3 and get, oh, I shouldn't have put plus, because that's minus 3x, and then negative 3 times negative 4 is plus 12. In the middle we have like terms. So we have x squared, x minus 3x is negative 2x, plus 12 over x plus 4, x minus 4, x plus 1. We cannot factor the top. There's nothing that multiplies to get 12, that adds to get negative 2, so this is our answer. Complex fractions. Okay, on this first one up top, we need to first think of this like it's 4 over 1, and then we need to say what's the common denominator for 4 over 1 and 2 over x. Well, 4 over 1, we need an x on the bottom in order for those to have a common denominator of x. You can think of it like a common denominator of 1x if you want to, but we multiply this first fraction by x, giving us 4x. And then the second fraction already has an x in the bottom, so we don't have to do anything to it. It just adds its 2 along with it. On the bottom, we have 3 and 6. Our common denominator would be 6, because I can take the first fraction and I can multiply by 2, which gives me a denominator of 6. But I have to do it to top and bottom. So 2 times x is 2x. Didn't need to do anything to the second fraction, that's plus 1. Over our common denominator is 6. Now we have to remember that we're dividing two fractions, which means we can say 4x plus 2 over x times the second fraction flipped, so 6 over 2x plus 1. We need to factor 4x plus 2, so take the 2 out, which leaves us with 2x plus 1. Oh hey, look, we can cancel out this 2x plus 1 and this 2x plus 1 since they're the same. That leaves us with a 2 and a 6 on top, which is 12, and an x on bottom, so it's 12 over x. The last one here, this one on top is 1 over 1 and on bottom is 1 over 1. We need a common denominator of a, because we have 8 over a plus 1 over 1, so we need to times this fraction by a, which gives 8 plus a over a, and then on the bottom, times it both by a. For the same reason, we want a common denominator of a, gives us 8 minus a over a. So we take the top fraction times the bottom fraction flipped, and that gives us 8 plus a over 8 minus a, which does not simplify at all because of the plus and the minus sign. So that is our answer.